The diner sat just off the highway in a small town in Ohio, its flickering neon sign buzzing against the cold evening air. Inside, the smell of fried food mixed with the low hum of tired conversations. Outside, near the glass door, stood Elena. Her jacket was too thin for the season, and the straps of a faded backpack dug into her shoulders. She hesitated before stepping forward, rehearsing her words again and again in her head. Elena hadn't always lived like this. Life had changed fast, too fast. One missed paycheck became two, rent piled up, and suddenly the safest place for her and her children was wherever she could find for the night. That evening, her kids waited in the shelter down the road, hungry but patient, trusting their mother to return with something, anything, to eat. She pushed the door open just enough to peek inside. The manager stood behind the counter, counting receipts with sharp, impatient movements. Elena approached slowly, keeping her hands visible, her voice calm. "Excuse me, sir," she said quietly. "I was wondering if you had any leftovers you were throwing away." "Just a little food. It's for my children." The manager looked up, irritation flashing across his face. He glanced at her worn shoes, her tired eyes, and sighed loudly. "We don't do charity," he snapped. "You need to leave." Elena nodded quickly. She was used to rejection. "I understand," she said. "I just thought I'd ask. I won't cause any trouble." But something about her calmness seemed to anger him more. Customers nearby grew quiet, forks pausing midair. The manager walked around the counter, his voice rising. "I said get out. You can't just come in here begging." "I'm not begging," Elena replied softly. "I'm just asking for food that would be thrown away." That was when he lost his patience. He grabbed the door and shoved it open, gripping her arm to push her outside. Elena stumbled, nearly losing her balance. A sharp gasp rippled through the diner. Someone whispered, "Hey, that's not right," but no one moved. "Don't come back," the manager shouted, loud enough for everyone to hear. "People like you scare customers away." Elena steadied herself, pulling her arm back but not fighting. Her face flushed. Not with anger, but with humiliation. She looked down, blinking back tears. "Please," she said, her voice barely audible now. "They haven't eaten all day. I just need something small." Her words hung in the air, heavy and uncomfortable. The manager scoffed and turned away, muttering under his breath. Elena remained standing there, unsure whether to leave or try once more. Pride warred with desperation, and desperation was winning. That was when she noticed the sound. Low at first, almost distant. A vibration in the ground. The windows of the diner rattled slightly as a deep rumble grew louder. Heads turned toward the parking lot. Through the glass, headlights appeared, one after another, cutting through the darkness. Elena didn't know what was coming. She only hugged her backpack tighter, hoping she could still find a way to feed her children before the night grew any colder. The rumble outside grew stronger, no longer ignorable. The diner's windows vibrated as several motorcycles rolled into the parking lot, their headlights slicing through the night like steady beams of attention. Conversations inside stopped completely. Even the sizzling grill seemed quieter as engines shut off one by one. Elena turned slowly, unsure whether to feel afraid or relieved. A line of bikers dismounted with calm, practiced movements. They were big men and women, wearing leather jackets marked with patches, flags, names of old units, and symbols of long rides across long roads. Despite their size, there was no aggression in the way they walked. Their faces were serious, alert, and focused on what was happening near the door. The manager noticed them too. His shoulders stiffened. He straightened his shirt and stepped forward, forcing a tight smile. "We're closed for loitering," he said sharply, trying to sound in control. "You'll have to move along." One of the bikers, a gray-bearded man with kind eyes, didn't respond right away. He looked past the manager to Elena, noticing the red mark forming on her arm. His voice, when he spoke, was calm and steady. "Ma'am," he asked, "are you okay?" Elena hesitated. She wasn't used to being asked that question. She nodded slightly, though her hands still trembled. "I just asked for food for my kids," she said quietly. "That's all." A heavy silence followed. The bikers exchanged looks. No words, just understanding. Another biker, a woman with her hair tied back, stepped closer, positioning herself between Elena and the manager without touching either of them. Her presence alone shifted the balance in the room. The manager scoffed. She was causing a disturbance, he said quickly. I had every right to remove her. By grabbing her, the gray-bearded biker asked, his tone unchanged. Because it looked different from where we stood. A few customers nodded. Someone near the window raised a phone, recording. The manager's confidence began to drain. He took a step back, suddenly aware of how many eyes were on him. We believe in rules, the biker continued. But we also believe in respect. Without another word, one biker reached into his jacket and pulled out his wallet. Another walked to the counter and placed money down, more than enough for several meals. Pack food, the woman biker said simply. Enough for kids. The cashier, nervous but relieved, hurried to comply. Bags were filled with warm meals, bread, and fruit. The smell of fresh food spread through the diner, changing the mood completely. The gray-bearded biker gently handed the bags to Elena. Kids eat first, he said, offering a small smile. No one should have to ask twice. Tears filled Elena's eyes. She whispered thank you, clutching the food like a lifeline. The bikers escorted her outside, not as guards, but as companions, ensuring she left with dignity intact. Inside, the manager stood silent, surrounded by witnesses. That night, the diner didn't just serve food, it served a hard lesson. Strength isn't about power over others, but about standing up when it matters most. Outside, the night air felt colder, but Elena's hands were warm from the paper bags she held close to her chest. The bikers stood with her near the edge of the parking lot, engines quiet now, their presence steady and reassuring. Headlights from passing cars swept over them, briefly illuminating faces marked by years of road dust, service, and quiet strength. You heading somewhere safe? The gray-bearded biker asked gently. Elena nodded. There's a shelter a few blocks away. My kids are waiting there. Her voice cracked, not from fear this time, but from relief. I didn't expect any of this. The woman biker smiled. Sometimes help shows up loud, she said, glancing at the motorcycles, but it means well. One of the bikers walked over and handed Elena a small envelope. For tomorrow, he said. Groceries, bus fare, whatever you need. Elena tried to refuse, shaking her head quickly, but he closed her fingers around it. Let us do this. Across the parking lot, the diner door opened. A few customers stepped outside, avoiding the manager's eyes. An older man approached Elena, embarrassed. I should have spoken up sooner, he said. I'm sorry. Others murmured agreement. The silence that followed felt heavy with regret. Inside the diner, the manager watched from behind the glass. The confidence he'd shown earlier was gone, replaced by unease. He knew those videos would spread. He also knew something else. People had seen who he was when no one was supposed to matter. The bikers mounted their motorcycles one by one. Before leaving, the gray-bearded man looked back at the diner. We ride all over this country, he said calmly, not shouting, not threatening. We remember places that treat people right. And we remember places that don't. Then he turned back to Elena. Take care of your kids, he said. That's the most important job there is. As the bikes roared back to life, Elena stood watching until their lights disappeared down the highway. The noise faded, leaving behind a deep, peaceful quiet. For the first time in weeks, her shoulders relaxed. She walked toward the shelter, each step lighter than the last. When she pushed open the door, her children ran to her, eyes wide at the sight of the food. Laughter filled the room as she unpacked the meals. They ate together, slowly, savoring not just the food but the feeling of being seen. Later that night, as her children slept, Elena sat awake, thinking about what had happened. She realized something important. Kindness doesn't always come from those with authority. Sometimes it comes from strangers who choose to act when others look away. The next morning, the diner was quieter than usual. Fewer cars pulled in. A handwritten sign appeared in the window, under new review. Whether the manager learned his lesson or not, the town had. And somewhere down the highway, a group of bikers rode on, unaware that their simple decision, to stop, to notice, to care, had changed one family's story forever.